The Five Nights at Freddy's movie finally out in theaters for the fandom to completely devour it, critically and financially. I am sorry this video is coming out a little later than I hoped. I am a little bit under the weather right now, but I had to pull through. I had to get this video out. I had to review this movie because I've been looking forward to it, honestly. And no, I'm not a huge Five Nights at Freddy's super fan cuck shill. I am a very casual fan. I think it's pretty interesting, the lore, but I do not know most of it. But I know people who do, and they get to tell me about it. Mostly my friend. She's been fantastic on telling me the lore. Thank you very much. But anyway, Five Nights at Freddy's is based off the very popular video game played by 10-year-olds everywhere in the year 2014. And it was a huge smash hit. Apparently, it was a mobile game that turned into a console game, and then now, years later, we finally have the movie. And I'm pretty sure all the little kids were all excited and throwing their fucking popcorns at the walls, on the ceiling, and jumping out of their seat when the In Living Tombstone FNAF song played at the end. I'm not gonna lie, I did get very happy when I heard that song at the end credits. That's a nice piece of fan service. Now let's get the question out of the way. Is this movie scary? And it really isn't. If you're like under the age of 10, you'll probably find this scary as hell. But no, this is like very tame from what I've seen Blumhouse do in the aspects of horror. This is not a horror movie. It's a FNAF movie. And I think that's perfectly fine. And that's all it needs to be to win the hearts of the fandom. And just be the best thing it could be and stand by the fans the best way it can. The jump scares are dog shit. Only usage of the jump scares is just for a running gag throughout the movie. And the atmosphere I think they nailed, because the director really wanted to capture the game's tone and atmosphere, and I think they knocked it out of the park, honestly. Especially the opening scene of the movie, because the opening scene of the movie is basically the first mission in the game, where you have to stay up late as a security guard looking at all the cameras, and that's exactly what happens in this movie. And that was great. That the first thing we see in this movie was the first part of the game. But one thing for sure, if you have never heard of Five Nights at Freddy's or played any of the games or know any of the lore, then this movie is going to be complete ass to you, because it does not speak to anybody unless you know all the lore or played the games. So if you know nothing about it and don't want to give it a shot, just don't give it a shot. It's not going to speak to you. It's not going to bring you over or anything like that. But if you are a super fan or even a casual fan like I am myself, I'd say just check this movie out, and it may be better than what you expected. And yeah, these diehard fans are going nuts for this movie, and I think that's pretty good. I think that's they finally got the thing they wanted, and it was done well. Now, walking into this movie, I did not expect it to be another story of a grown man taking care of a child, and I didn't expect that, even though Mike and Abby are brother and sister in this movie, but I didn't expect any of that. So what do you call it? In this, it's kind of jarring that they use that premise as the driving force for this movie. And Mike having nightmares every night when he goes to sleep about his brother who was kidnapped back when he was a child. And wow, I called that mystery bullshit at the beginning of the movie, bro, because it was so obvious. Now, Matthew Lillard as William Afton he did a great job, but I really think he should have had way more screen time in this movie, because he's only in 2 scenes of the movie. Just at the beginning where he says the security gig is yours, and then the end when he's revealed as Spring Bonnie, Springtrap, whatever. But then he was absent throughout the entire thing, and that's really shitty. I think he should have been in like at least a few more scenes throughout the movie instead of just being in 2, because that feels like they wasted Matthew Lillard a bit, because I really wanted him to be like, well, not exactly like Stu back in Scream, but he's again a horror movie villain, and I think that's fantastic. I think they should use more of that instead of just not using him at all. It kind of feels like they wasted him a bit. But from what he was given, Shagster did a really good job in this movie. And now I want to give some high praise to the Jim Henson Creature Shop, man, because they did the animatronics for this movie. They did Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, and Springtrap. And holy shit, what do you call it? Those animatronics look like they jumped out of the video game and went on camera for the movie. And like, damn, that's how really well they nailed it. And man, they've been making heat ever since forever. They made the Ninja Turtle suits. They made a lot of Muppets and other crazy things. And man, these guys just keep staying winning. Their work is revolutionary. It speaks for themselves. It's just fantastic. And rest in peace to Jim Henson. Another thing in this movie, like sometimes in some parts I would feel like it'd be just like a bit dragging. Like not much will really happen unless you're at the pizzeria at night. Like the point of the games. So the daytime parts can be a very lackluster, not needed, because it's another piece of the story is that, oh, Abby might get taken away because of her shitty aunt who's always mean to her and just wants to collect a check just to take care of her. She don't really care about her, and Mike just has to get a job and make sure he can hold down a nice steady paycheck so he can keep Abby and just take care of her and actually be there for her. Because when I think Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I don't think of custody battle. That's basically all that happens in the daytime scenes, just custody battle between Mike and their shitty, mean aunt. So I assure you, everything that's interesting in this movie always happens at night. Nothing in the daytime happens and it's interesting. Now, when I say it's a FNAF fan service movie, I mean it. There's so many Easter eggs sprinkled around this movie, and you'll just always be pointing your finger and be like, oh shit, there's that thing. There's Balloon Boy. There's Golden Freddy. There's Shadow Freddy. There's Spring Bonnie in a picture. And I hope all the FNAF fans are thankful for all this. Now, let's get into the kills. Is there any jump scares frames like there is in the game where you see the animatronic's face? No, and I was expecting that, and I was kind of disappointed I didn't get that. But what you do get is you get like it's very atmospheric. Sometimes you'll hear like the fall of a cleaning supply. Sometimes you'll hear a door slam. Sometimes you'll hear the foxy dun 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 dun. Sometimes you'll lock eyes with the ghost kid, and he'll run away, luring you over to the room the animatronics are in. Sometimes the animatronics will just straight up fucking move and trap you in a broom closet and then kill you that way. There is only one kill in this movie that I absolutely loved, and it's when the babysitter girl gets lured in by one of the ghost children possessing the Freddy Fazbear animatronic. And that, man, she got bitten the fucking half. And I was like, damn, that's the kind of FNAF stuff I want to see in this movie. But besides that, the rest of the kills, very atmospheric, very in the shadows, very tamed. Probably would have been better if this movie had an R rating, but then all the little Timmys and little Sallys won't be able to watch this movie. I don't think that would have mattered since the fan base is basically grown by now, and I think they could take all the violence and gore you see in the games and implement them really well to the movie. Like the bite of 83 and 87, and also the spring lock scene that turns Spring Bonnie into Spring Trap. I think people would have really wanted to see a lot of blood and guts flying all around the place. But maybe the sequels will change. Maybe they'll have an R rating. Maybe one day. Because if they have not yet adapted on screen the bite of 83 or 87, and I think people are going to want to see that the way it should be shown. But this movie's already a massive hit. It's making a shit-tillion dollars right now. And yeah, maybe the PG-13 rating did help with that. But what can I say? They're rolling in green right now. In the end, guys, I thought Five Nights at Freddy's was decent. It stays very true to the games, and I thought it implemented them well on screen the best way they possibly could. It's a very shitty horror movie, but in the end, it's a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and at the end of the day, that's what really mattered. Just in the sequels, I hope the writing team comes up with better stuff for them to do, because, yeah, those daytime scenes were not it. Since there's so much freaking lore, it shouldn't be hard for them to find something to adapt for FNAF 2 and FNAF 3. Maybe I'll watch some lore videos, because in this movie, at some parts, I felt like a complete jackass for not knowing who that character was or why it was put there. So, just better writing and maybe better kills in the next two movies. FNAF kids, hope you guys love this movie, and all you Burger King employees, I hope you love this movie too. I'm going to bed now. Join me for a bite when FNAF 2 comes out. And that sequel's happening. It's not a matter of if, it's definitely a matter of when. Thank you for watching. Five Nights at Freddy's is a 6 out of 10.